Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the channel. I was about to say Dope Soul Sports Talk, but this is nothing but Nick's Queen's Court. We're here every Monday around this time, 8:30 p.m., breaking down the Knicks games over the past week and any storylines related to the New York Knicks. You know how we do. We're going to talk about the game against Cleveland, Boston, Brooklyn. We're going to look ahead to the 4 games we have next week. I want to talk a little bit about Quickley and how he's been playing as of late. And if we have time, if you guys aren't already tired, we'll throw in some trade talk as well. Salute to everybody in the chat, those who are going to join us later, and those who will listen later. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime anything goes live on this channel. That includes the Queen's Court, of course, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the NBA report with Ron and John from Still Nick Fans, and of course, Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel, pregame, postgame, events, breakdown videos, announcements. Keep it right here. Let me bring in our guest for today, Tony Crow, DJ Shuttle. How you fellas doing?
Peace, Queen. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. I'm ready.
Well,
All right, all
let's
right.
do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let me shout out to the chat. Those that are in the chat already, early shout out, Jeffrey Clafter, always rocking. I appreciate you. Same with JJ, Dwayne Dennis, DJ Shuttle, of course, Cormega, Kerry Cox, Dwayne Wilson. All right, let's briefly go through my little slide from this past week. And I definitely want to talk about these games because we sat here last week and we talked about these 3 games and what do we think the Knicks would do. I think everybody here was optimistic. I think I had us going 2-1, I want to say. But anyway, we'll talk about it. We beat Cleveland. Oh man, at the Garden, 105-103. Where the Knicks played really well down the stretch. Randall, 36 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 3-pointers. Barrett, 16 points, 4 rebounds. Brunson, 14 points, 3 rebounds. The Knicks shot 49% from the field and 51.5% from the 3-point line. The Knicks was smoking against Cleveland. I'm not going to read out Cleveland stats, the opponent stats. They're right there if you're interested. Then we went into Boston. Randall, 36 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 3-pointers, 52% from the field. I thought Randall was just on fire, played with a lot of energy, and stayed assertive for the entire game. Brunson, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 block shots, including a key block at the end of the game. The Knicks shot 45.8% from the field, 34.2% from the 3-point line. Then we go into Brooklyn. We'll talk about it. We'll go. They were without KD, of course. They were without Ben Simmons. Brunson, 26 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 52.6% from the field. Barrett, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a block. I thought Barrett played well throughout the entire game. Randall, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 43.8% from the field. The Knicks shot 51% from the field, 35.7% from the 3-point line. The Knicks' declining defense, we'll talk about this also during the game, was really on display against Brooklyn. At one point, the Knicks were, I think, 5th, 6th. Every week it just went down. And I think right now we're 17th. Who knows? Tomorrow we might be 19th. I don't know. And then the Kyrie Irving show in the fourth quarter. I thought Grimes played him really well. He made the shots anyway. 1 or 2 times the Knicks trapped to get the ball out his hand. He passed it. He got it right back. He did what stars do. I'm interested in the panel's take on this, and I'm just going to put it out here early. It's hard to bang on a guy and be critical of a guy who had 8 assists in the Brooklyn game. But I really wanted to see Randall and or Brunson be more assertive down the stretch. Now, listen, Kyrie is Kyrie, and those guys are just not as good as Kyrie. But I feel like the way Kyrie approached the last part of the game, I would have liked to have seen Randall and Brunson approach it the same way. At the end of the night, Irvin is still going to be Irvin, right? You may not have been able to match it, but I would have liked to have seen them go down fighting a little bit more. I just thought they played within themselves. They played within the confines of the game. I would have just liked to have seen them try to take over a little bit. Would they have probably fell short? Probably, right? Kyrie is Kyrie. But I just thought, a few times Randall was right at the basket to cut it within 3 or 1 or whatever it was, and he passed that. He was right at the basket. So anyway, I'm still encouraged by those guys. I think they're inconsistent, but when they balling, somebody's when they're balling. And that lets you know the potential that they have to come up big in big spots. They just need to be a bit more consistent about it. Anyway, Tony, DJ Shuttle, my long intro. What was it about this week? And you could pick any particular game. You could take the week as a whole. What stood out for you, player wise, team wise, coach wise, system wise, however you want to approach it?
Well, to play off your last point, I think I agree with you 100% when it comes to Randall in that Brooklyn game. I think he was a little bit passive, especially more passive than he's been the two
Mhm.
previous games. And that might have been the difference. I'll go as far as the opposite of what you said would have made a difference. What would we have won? I say maybe. Instead of maybe not, maybe we would have won because I mean that's what we needed in the two previous games. Randall to be aggressive and kind of enforce his will. And if you look at individual matchups or whatever, this would have been the opportunity for him to kind of do that. I don't think they really had anybody that could stop Randall if he was a little more aggressive. Um, but who knows why that wasn't the case? This is by no means a knock on Randall. You,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? But I think that's the difference. And as far as last week I said 1-2, and saying that we would win the Brooklyn game, which was the one game we lost. So I'm overall happy with the outcome. I think we are definitely on the right path. Um and successes moving forward.
Yeah.
I um I like Randall in games against Cleveland and Boston for certain. I would agree he didn't have the energy level needed, especially in what you have to look at essentially as some whatever rivalry matchup, you know. However, to say that he didn't like bring it to like a Kyrie level though, I mean, Kyrie's like, yo, listen, I'm better than y'all, and I'm gonna show you that. You know what I mean? Different kind of it's a different kind of confidence and swag. He's already done it, he's already proven it. So yeah, I want Randall to go hardcore and be aggressive and do his thing. But at the same time, when you've done it and done it at the championship level and did the game winning shot and you're just a more superior player, I mean, I expect it to be another level. That's why he's Kyrie Irving. So, I can't really completely knock him, but I don't know. But Randall and collectively as a team, it just didn't really feel like, you know, that
That's fair.
the team just as a
Right.
whole just didn't have the edge. Like it was like, oh, this is just
Right.
another game. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is Brooklyn. This is not the Utah Jazz. It's not, the Sacramento Kings. This is Brooklyn. Like you need to. It's a division game. It's a conference game. It's an inner city game. It's a team that wants to take over the reins of the city, and they don't got KD playing. It's like, yo, this is the games you gotta really, and I don't want to say hangover is a real deal, but Cleveland, tough win. Boston, tough win. Maybe not coming in with the edge against Brooklyn that you might normally have. I see. Tony, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that KD wasn't there. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we would have got a different Randall if KD was there.
Mhm.
Historically, he plays and gets up for KD and pause and and maybe he, you know what I mean, didn't have that same mindset, that same approach, knowing KD wasn't going to be there, which, you know, obviously is a mistake. But you made a great point about the team overall. It wasn't really just him. We
Right.
started off lethargic, as Clyde would say, and we had to really fight the whole game more than we should have. And then obviously the 3-point disparity was the huge difference in the game. And you know, that's something I think we have to address as a team. Um, and my last thing I wanted to add was Queen. I wish you had Quickly's stats up there because you know, shout out to Quickly who's been balling
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, we're gonna do a segment on him.
And
We're gonna
I
do a
want to
segment. So I got a slide. I got a slide for Quick.
I want to also add that contrary to the other two teams, which a little bit more um, one-on-one type of like ISO type of teams, even though Brooklyn has the ISO champ in Kyrie Irving, overall they are a pass and move kind of team, and I think that that's a different intelligence level of defense that, you know, even with Robinson, the Knicks are not able to, to handle. And I think that even without Robinson, it just made it even more of a difficult matchup. I mean, clearly the team scored 115 points, so scoring really wasn't the biggest challenge. But,
Right.
you know, covering the 3-point line, while it's been better than it was at the very beginning of the season, it's definitely still a weakness of the team. And you know,
Absolutely.
a team like Brooklyn that gets that ball moving and swinging and have good shooters, like Brooklyn has good shooters on their team. I mean,
Yes.
are they
The Knicks
55%?
made them look even better though.
I
Yeah, I mean,
mean, their ball movement, to Shuttle's credit, their ball
Mhm.
movement was superb, like
Yes.
all game long.
Right.
Extra pass, extra
and that's
pass, extra
and that's
pass, all
and that's
along the perimeter.
and that's what's getting them the open shots. And even when the defense was, I'll just call it trying, you know, it's
Mhm.
still, I mean, you know, with the type of shooters
They're
that they
making
have,
work.
with the ball movement that they have, and just that level of defense is not where the Knicks are, you know. And even without KD, you know what I mean. Even without KD, as great as KD is very much an ISO player. So it's actually, I don't want to say it's easier to guard the Nets, but you know, with everybody else very much in the sharing the ball kind of mind frame, it's a lot harder to catch the potato, I think, for the Knicks defenders, because this is not a great defensive team, contrary to what the ratings have, you know, had us recently at what, 11, 12, you know, as far as maybe a couple of weeks
It
ago.
has
So
corrected itself. The stock market has corrected itself. We are at 17.
yeah. So
We
yeah,
are at 17. I mean, I agree with you. I think with KD in there, the ball doesn't move as much. Kyrie had 11 points through the first three quarters because the team was doing what they needed to do. So there was no need for him to, force his will, right? until the fourth quarter where he had, I believe, 21 of his 32 points. I think for the Knicks is how do they figure out how to move the ball, but yet at the end of the night, your best players still take the most shots, right? How do you move the ball around? But the ball, not that other guys aren't taking shots. Of course, they're taking shots. But at the end of the night, where you're moving, and obviously you're causing the defense to move as well, but the ball is still getting into your best players' hands, maybe just on the move, right? And I think that's something for them to figure out. And then also, when they do have it going, to keep feeding that hot hand and letting them do what they do. And then when they not, to go back to moving the ball. I think that's a tough road.
You
They're
saying
not
it's
there
a
yet.
fine line basically to understand when to do which one.
When to do right, when to do one, and also just to point out um, that you can Golden State moves the ball. You could put Sacramento moves the ball. But at the end of the night, make no mistake about it, that is not an equal opportunity offense, even though they're moving the ball. It's not like, oh, this night Poole had the most shots because he was open. Oh, the next night it was Draymond because no, they moved the ball. But at the end of the night, for the most part, the ball is in their best players' hands more than the other players.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised though if they, as like, if you asked the team, I'm referring to the Warriors, if they say otherwise, if they say, any particular night, it could be Poole, it could be Clay, it could be Draymond, depending on the given night, and it just so happens, I think both things can be true. You know what I mean? Like, I say that to say they're okay. Steph is okay if Poole has the most shots or the most points in a particular game. You know what I mean? Especially
It's not
if
even about being okay. It's about what gives you the best chance of winning. Over the course of the season, that plays into the defense hands if Draymond Green is getting as many shots as Steph Curry, because Draymond Green doesn't put as much pressure on the defense as a Steph Curry does.
no, what my point is, on any given night, he could.
On any,
You,
no,
you
okay. I'm talking about
and
over the course of the
that's what I mean.
season,
Like, for the
right?
team, you know what I mean. That philosophy is what makes them so dangerous. You know what I mean. Like, that's why, I mean, it's basically a credit to your previous statement of how do you find that balance and knowing when to do what, when to allow this one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I think the slight difference is, it sounds like you're saying just move it around, and whoever is hot that night, they're gonna get the most shots. It's just an equal opportunity offense. It just depends on whose hands it falls in that night. And what I'm saying is, you have to move the ball around for sure, but at the end of the night,
yes,
your
yeah,
best players have
crunch
to have
time.
taken the crunch time as well. But even throughout the game, so sometimes you don't even get to crunch time.
Well,
Your best play.
it could be crunch time in the first quarter if the situation, if the
If the
score is tight
situation,
enough. You
if
know what I
the
mean?
yeah,
That's what I mean. Like, yeah, I'm not saying like at the end of the game always is. I'm
right.
saying like when it's time to turn it on, or when it's time to say, all right, we're moving the ball, but we're still missing shots. All right, give me is my I
Yeah,
gotta score a basket.
that too. But I think the other thing I'm saying is, even though they're moving the ball, Curry takes the most shots on that team. Even though they're moving the ball, Clay is taking more. Like, there is still a pecking order at the end of the night on average. I'm not saying it works, but on average it is. Because think about it. If you have a offense where it's just whoever is open, you're playing into the defender, the opposing team's hand. So just imagine it's 5 minutes to go in the game. We're down 3 against Brooklyn, right? Kyrie is out. It's KD. And no, let's say it's 2 minutes left. So it's about 5 possessions left in the game. One possession, they're swinging it around. Harris takes the shot. The next possession, they're swinging it around. Another person takes the shot. Out of those 5 possessions, KD takes 1 shot. If I'm the Knicks, I'm super happy. I'm like, woo, they swinging the ball around and letting whoever is open shoot it. You know what? Let me lay off.
But
Let me
here's
lay off this person
but
on
here's
purpose.
but here's the difference.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's KD has the ball, and he's just making the right
That's
read,
different, but that's
and then
totally different. You're still going through him,
but
and
that's
he's making a decision. That's different
it's
than.
different. But you also, as now again, I'm not comparing Brunson nor
Mhm,
Randall to Kyrie or Randall in
mhm.
in ability, but the roles, you know what I mean, that's our Kyrie and our Brunson. They still have to understand, you know what I mean, there's a time. They have to understand, even when it's go to you, you got to make the right read. You
Yeah,
know what I
well,
mean?
but
Otherwise, it's
that's
a
yes,
detriment. You
absolutely,
know what I
no
mean?
doubt about it. But the ball is
So
still
you got
going
to,
through.
but the offense has to also be comfortable enough to make that shot. You know what I mean? Like Grimes, he's missed a couple of
Yeah, well, that's a
very crucial
whole other
shots
story.
as of
Right,
late,
right, right, right. But
where
that's the difference
our
between.
leader has made the right read. You know what I mean? The right play,
It depends
whether
on
it
it.
be Randall
Listen,
or Brunson.
listen. When Randall was at the rim, that was the wrong read to pass it all the way out to Grimes. I don't care how open he was. You're at the rim.
I know
And
which play you're
Grimes was
talking about.
shooting 16.7%. I mean, he may not have known it
But
at the time, but he wasn't hitting his shots.
and that's part of why it was the wrong read.
That was the wrong read.
That's
You
part of
know,
why, because he's shooting so bad as of late.
but even if he was shooting well, if you're at the rim, you got to take the shot. You're at the rim. He's like this, and
I
then
mean,
turns around and passes.
he definitely could have took the shot, but I don't. It wasn't like he was by himself at the rim. You know what I mean? There was defenders around him.
Listen, of course. I mean, what
So
you think they
that's what I
went to
mean.
the
Like,
to the Chinese restaurant? Of course, there's defenders around you. That's just how it is. That shot was on Randall. But anyway, that I just feel like you got to take the challenge. I just felt in the Brooklyn game, they didn't take the challenge. That's just how I see it. I know there was somebody in the chat who said that he was tired, he was worn down, and that may have had something to do with it. Let me ask you a question. The way the team played against Cleveland and Boston, do you think, and then the way they played against Brooklyn, how do you approach that? Like, do you see them as a team learning how to be consistent? How do you make sense of how well they play against some teams and then not, or do you think it's just fatigue?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's tough because
everything counts. Everything counts. But I mean, I alluded to a little bit earlier. I think the style of play of Cleveland and Boston
Mm-hmm.
for the defensive
Mm-hmm.
style and defensive acumen or lack thereof that the team has,
Right.
those were better matchups. And
Yes.
I just think that Brooklyn is a tougher matchup. Claxton is definitely getting his props from me right now.
Yeah.
That boy is, I mean, no funny. Like what he's doing is what I wish Mitch was doing. If you're gonna score 7 points a game, lead the league in blocks. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I need. Now I know Mitch is not playing right now, so I'm not gonna kill him. But you know, I just think that you have inconsistencies. You got a new point guard. There really is no de facto star player. Give me the ball. I'm gonna make it happen type of person. You know, Brunson's had his moments. Randall, he can do it from time to time. RJ's made some plays, but like there's nobody that's like the guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you don't have the guy, then when you walk into the field with a minute left and you got Tom Brady, it don't matter how bad the season was. If they would have been in the playoffs with Tom Brady and it's 1 minute left and they need a touchdown to win the game, the team's gonna just
Right.
have a certain level of confidence.
Right.
Yo, Brunson's been here for 50 games. He's done good. He's done very, very good. But still, collectively as a team, though, it's for all the play the kids, man. It's a lot of young players. Quickley, Grimes, RJ, Mitch. These are still young guys trying to figure it out. So,
Yeah.
it's
No doubt.
it's part of the growing pains.
And not just young in age, but just young and playing together as well. Do you think the flashes you've seen early in the season from Brunson in terms of being a bucket getter, what you've seen from Randall, like prior to Brooklyn and that Cleveland and Boston game, I thought down the stretch, that was the maybe the first time in a long time that I thought Randall was clutch. Like he's not really known for that, hit his free throws and what have you. Do you think that those guys can never be that? or do you think they can grow into it? And particularly for Randall, who some will say he's been in the league for 9 years, his ceiling is not that much higher.
I mean, I'm a little bit different because I feel like some people show you enough to know that they can be that, and I think, I mean, I've been felt like that. Randall can be a number one guy with the right pieces around him. I feel the same way about Brunson. Um, it's not going to be a team that is going to be a dynasty, without getting that superstar. But I think with the right pieces, we could be a continuous threat where we may get to the finals 1 year. We may not get there for 2 years, but we a threat in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And then we get there again. So I think that's what yeah, they're not the type of superstars that are just gonna dominate the league, but they're good enough. I think they just need the right pieces around them,
Yeah, shout out to Uncle Freezy
or at least they
Blanche
could be.
Tears. Yeah, he said that on the show. I didn't quite get it, but one thing about me is I listen to the chat, I listen to the panel members, and if I don't get it during the show, I will think about it afterwards, and then I'll come back and be like, you know what? You have a point there. Freezy said that, there was talk about Giannis, whether or not he was a number one or number two on his team. There was, talk about a lot of players. Are these guys really number ones or number twos? And it wasn't until they got better players around them that you were able to see, what they were able to do. So it's that, you know, can you see a star regardless of whether or not they have a team around them? Or do you need a team around them for you to really see
Yes,
how they
they
can
need
function?
they
Um,
need the team around them. They're not, yeah, they're not the. But at this point, I don't think that any of the superstars can do it by themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think they could do it by themselves. But when I look at Luca, though, it's like, even before he had the team around him, like, so there's some players, even before they have the team around them, you can look at it and be like, yeah, this guy's bona fide right here. Um, Listen,
and let's not discount
mhm,
the right pieces around them as
the
well.
right pieces,
You know what I
the
mean?
right
Like, it's not just, all right, we look at these numbers, and if we put these numbers here, we got it. No, it has to be the right fit. You may not get those numbers on a different team.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt about it. I'm starting to think that Julius, even though he's 28 now, I still think he hasn't reached his ceiling. And this is new. I think at one point I thought that, I don't know how much more we're gonna get from him. But this is a very talented guy who's just now learning, in my opinion, about the mental aspects of how to stay focused to get the most out of your talent. Um, and he's learning how to do that. So it's possible with his meditation and his mindfulness and whatever else he's doing that he's getting to the point where he can quiet his mind and perform up to his talent regardless of what's going on. I don't think he's perfected it though, but I think he's getting better at it. So there could be another level for Randall and
Queen.
Brunson.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Not too long ago, me and Sim had a conversation, and I think it was off air. You
Mhm.
know how we have these conversations, like, oh, I
Yes,
wish he
yes,
was on
yes.
air. But we were talking about, forget the player in general, because I don't remember exactly who we was talking about. But we were talking about reaching your prime, right? And how it takes, like, when your basketball IQ is at its peak, at the same time that your basketball talent is at its peak. You know what I mean?
Right,
And sometimes sometimes the window is larger, like a guy like LeBron whose IQ was at the peak coming in. You know
right.
what I mean? And then he got better as a player, and but his basketball IQ never went down. And I think for certain guys, it's just a smaller window. You know what I mean? It may take a couple more years for the IQ thing to reach where the talent level is, some, or vice versa. And I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he's peaked yet, but his actual peak might only be a 3-year window where he's at that the
Right.
best he could ever be. You know what I mean? Where others
Yeah.
will have a 5-year window, others will have a 10-year window. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah. I get that point. And the same thing with Brunson. I mean, we've seen him earlier in the season when he was top 5 as a clutch player, and I still think that potential is there. To your point, Tony. Maybe there's fatigue, is what I said. Maybe it's they know him, so now he has to go around the league one more time. Maybe have to even go into the offseason, get in better condition. He's carrying, a heavier load, more usage to come back. But when I see how those guys operate in the clutch, Brunson for a longer period of the season, Randall these past few games, I'm encouraged by that they can continue to grow in that respect, particularly Brunson, who's what, 25, right? 25 years old, 26 years old, particularly Brunson, that he can grow in that role and potentially be able to do that throughout the course of a season, not just for a period of time. Any thoughts on Brunson and whether or not what's his ceiling? I know Josh, shout out to Josh, who said that he just sees Brunson as more of somebody that just on a championship team just gets everybody involved. He doesn't really see him as much of a scorer. If we need it, yes, fine. Um, but if we don't, fine. He just sees him more like in a Drew Holiday type um, role. I see him as one of
he's
the
a
main
bucket.
scorers. Yeah.
He's a bucket. You can't take the stripes off a zebra or the spots off a leopard or whatever you want to say. Like, he's a scorer. He's always going to be a scorer. Now, depending on how good the team is, it's going to be like a Luka situation. Is he the primary scorer? Is he the primary ball handler, or is he a secondary? You know what I mean? But no matter what, he's going to be a bucket. Like, that's what he does
Yeah.
first.
Now Brunson definitely gets buckets. He reminds me actually of a Chauncey Billups type. You know, yeah, he can get into the paint. He can hit the open three. Just strong, dependable, reliable, and he's hit enough tough clutch shots to be in that big shot Billups kind of conversation. So you get the right pieces around him, like you had around Chauncey Billups. You know, maybe Grimes becomes a Richard Hamilton type of player. Maybe Mitch is a Ben Wallace type of player. You know, these guys got to grow though as really young, inexperienced players still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see people in the chat said Brunson needs to pass the ball. I'm not arguing I'm not arguing with that. But what I will argue with is to in this day and age, these are score first point guards. Where their scoring and the threat of their scoring opens up the passing lanes for other guys. And so I don't think that that's going to ever change with him in terms of being score first. But to the chat's point, I don't know if this is their point. Yeah, once you do get in there, you do, draw the defense. That's your time to start spraying it out, especially if you're not hot. If you're hot, for me, take it. But if you're not, spray it, spray it around. But I don't think he's going to be like these pass first
No.
point guards that they're just far and few between right now.
Yeah,
And he
he's
does
getting the
need to
paint.
pass the ball, but I don't think he needs to be a facilitator. I think right now it's like I've been saying, it's the learning curve. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing Randall went through. It's like, if you're looking at it in that window, it's the same exact thing Randall went through, except Randall went through it in year 3, really. But you know what I mean, in the second year, and Brunson's kind of going through it in the midst of the season. But I still think he's gonna improve from that. He's gonna learn from that when to give it up. Like, he's forcing a little bit too much. It's not like, and that's where the problem is. You know what I mean? So I don't think people are saying giving up early. I think it's like stop forcing some of these
Right. Yeah,
shots.
yeah. Oh no, no. Yeah. 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 Um, I wonder if the spacing. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to Quickly. We have a segment on Quick. He's actually the next segment, but I want to put this up for JJ. I'll answer it first, and if you guys want to answer it, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. How far is this core ever going to take us? I'm not seeing it. Listen, step by step, piece by piece. You know, is not about the team right now. You know, over time, you improve the team. you know that's how it works. I don't think you could just take a snapshot of a team and be like, oh, this team right here is not going to take us. We just need to tear it down. Some would argue that this is a good core that needs to grow with each other. Like when you see this core really perform, you're like, wow, they're really good. But it's the consistency and being able to do it game in and game out. And that's going to come with individual growth and with growth as a team. So that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is this is our core for now. And like any team, it changes over time as you add pieces. Anybody else want to answer this question? You don't have to. While I bring in
I think
Freezy.
that was elegant enough, and I don't disagree with anything you said. So
I would like to add on to that. Salute, Mr. Freeze. And
Salute.
I just think that you have a team that is basically in year one together. So how many cores in year one that's not the Miami Rockstars are looking like they're gonna go all the way to the championship in year one. You need a little time together. You need some cohesiveness together, and and honestly, if no deals are done, I mean, if you make some good draft picks, you got likely the Mavs pick and your own pick this year to strengthen up more young players on this team. So, we got Rose's contract coming off. Maybe you can still sign another vet. So I think the core of RJ, Randall, Brunson, and Mitch with more experience with Grimes, Quickly, Obi, and even 1 or 2 years of rookies that come in this next draft. I mean, I don't know. I think the team could at least be an Eastern Conference Finals contender
Wow.
by 2 years, not next year, at least the next year.
Oh, wow. Without any changes, just internally.
If the players continue on their trajectory of growth,
Okay.
and Brunson and Randall elevate their
Right.
prime level and establish themselves as more clutch and prime players, sure, why not?
Okay. All right. All right. Freezy. Freezy, you heard me
Hey, boss
talking
lady.
about. See, let me tell you what Freezy doing. He heard me giving him props about how he had me thinking different. And so now he want to pop on here and hear it face to face. All right, Freezy. So you got me thinking a little differently about some things in terms of is a number one. I wouldn't say born. Um, can you be that guy without the team, or do you need that team? And then once you have that team around you, you could become that guy. And I think it can go both ways. We was talking about this, like with Luka Doncic. Even when he didn't have a team around him, you just knew that this guy, he was, he was a stud. And there were some guys, you're right, where you had to have a team around him, and then once you got a team around, you'd be like, okay, this guy's legit. But anyway, how are you? Oh,
you muted, Unc.
you muted, and then I'll let
Finally,
Wiz in.
somebody got Uncle Freezy to shut up. The mute button. Yeah. So I am well, and I am on my best behavior.
No, why? Bring it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Just saying. I'm just saying. Salute to Tone. Shuttle, salute to y'all. Salute to the chat.
Peace.
Everybody. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
We're about to move into the quickly segment, but anything about this past week that stood out for you in the Boston, Cleveland, Brooklyn game, you can comment on the week as a whole or any particular game, a particular player, anything that stood out for you this week. The Knicks did go 2-1, family. Don't get too down on that Brooklyn game.
Right. No. What I want to say is so I want to say something that was polarizing to me. Right. So the winning aspect of the week had me very excited about what this potential can develop into if things go right.
Yeah.
The
Agreed.
Brooklyn game, on the other hand, reminded me that regardless how much strategy you have, no matter how much roster depth you have, no matter how much teams say they want to play together and all those things, if you don't have a superstar, when you face a superstar, you in for the biggest challenge. You in for a big challenge, right? It's so that's what I knew that already, but sometimes we have to be reminded that superstars run the NBA. So
yeah, because I think there's games, to your point, Freezy, where they look so good, where you start imagining just maybe these three with the team built out right, just maybe they could do it.
Right.
And then Kyrie come in there and be like, nah, you need one of these.
that top 15 players, the top 15 players in the NBA run the NBA. And the unfortunate part is a couple of teams, like the superstardom is not spread out over the NBA landscape. Certain teams like Brooklyn have two of the top 15, which doesn't even seem fair.
And another guy that should be in the top 25, but he hasn't got his stuff together.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and it's funny that Brooklyn game came on the heels of the conversation we was just having on Dope Soul Sports Talk about Julius Randle. Is he a number one? Do we have the core? Can this core? And then Kyrie just came and be like, whatever y'all was talking about, pause.
Right. Because I feel like you can be a number one and not be a superstar like Kyrie. I think there is there should be a delineation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A separation of that, because some teams have, because Anthony Davis can be a number one. I don't know if every time I see him, I think of him as that mega star. And does that have to do with him playing with LeBron? Maybe.
And I think another thing that came up.
Well, what did he do without LeBron as a number one?
He was a monster. You remember them numbers he was putting up?
Okay, but where did he go? What did he accomplish?
Oh, you mean okay? You talking about
I think
team goals? Yeah, I got you.
You know what I mean? Because I think there's other times where there's number ones, but they don't have enough help. So they get accused of having empty stats, or like I'm saying, what did they accomplish? And sometimes they just didn't have the pieces.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's coming up is that this is a little bit more nuanced than at least I was thinking about it, right? Like, are you expecting this guy to just drag the team, to use Freezy terms, to just drag the team? And because he can't drag the team, he's not a number one, But I will say this, though. There's a difference between being a number one on a championship contending team, and being a number one on a championship team. Because you think about, now we could talk about Giannis before he won the championship. We could look at Embiid now, 4 or 5 years, not being able to get out of the first or second round. He's a number one on a championship contending team, but I'm sure there are some fans in Philly, I'm almost positive, asking themselves, is he good enough to get us a chip?
Yep. I talked to
because we haven't got out to the second round.
That's
You
what I
know.
was gonna ask you, Queen, because
Mhm.
how do you, who's the contender until it's almost like you're not a contender until after you won. You know what I mean? Because the argument is there for everybody. I mean,
Right.
you could say about Donovan Mitchell in Utah, because that was going to be my question before your comment was, um were they a contender? Because the argument would probably be yes, they were, but then they never won anything. But you know now he's in Cleveland, right? And the argument is, oh, we should have got the superstar. We should have got the superstar. But if he doesn't win in Cleveland, then what does that what does that mean? Or if he gets
Yeah,
bounced in the first round, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Because
I
you have
do.
to
I
win
do.
it before you start to actually get.
I mean, what I'm starting to do, and this is really new, is saying, this guy is a number one on a championship contending team, but can he be the top guy on a championship team? But you got to have the roster. Like you got to be fair. You can't just be like, oh, they didn't win the championship when the roster wasn't a championship type roster. But if it's a championship type roster and you can't get over the hump and you the best player, I think it's fair at that point.
I mean,
Shout
Jordan,
out to
Jordan,
Wiz. Hmm? Go ahead.
Jordan needed a squad. I mean, like, what are you really saying? LeBron played with D
Yeah,
Wade.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, like, as great as Tim Duncan was, you know, I mean, Parker and Ginobili, they're pretty legit too. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then you look at more recent teams. I
Yeah.
mean,
KD
these
when he
guys.
went to Golden State, people getting on him because he didn't want to stay in OKC. He saw that. He saw that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this done with Russell Westbrook.
And then a lot of
Maybe.
people forget Golden State is almost the outlier, where you know what I mean. Like they kind of built it organically, internally.
Mhm.
And then obviously, yeah, they got the KD or whatever, but they're the outlier as far as
Man, Golden State got lucky,
not
bro.
trading for the superstar and kind of just drafting the players and honestly getting lucky. Not saying, because obviously I don't know if knew
Mhm.
they didn't know Steph was gonna be Steph. They didn't know Clay was gonna be Clay,
Right.
and I
Right.
doubt they even thought Draymond would be Draymond.
Draymond was supposed to be a lottery pick, but his attitude drove him to the second round, and he just
Right.
happened to be there for the. Yeah, Golden State got lucky. We wasn't talking about Golden State when they was
Right. Right.
drafting Marco Bellinelli.
Right.
The Golden
Right.
State
Oh, no
Warriors
doubt.
select
No
Marco
doubt.
Bellinelli. We
No
wasn't
doubt.
saying they
No
was
doubt.
good then.
Shout out to Mark Jackson, though. Good coaching.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Wiz before we move to the next segment. How
Yeah,
are
what's
you?
up?
Is there
Thank you.
anything? You're very welcome. Anything about last week that stuck out for you before we move on to this quickly segment?
Before we move on quickly to the quickly segment, um, I do, yes, I want to just touch on briefly on three things. Freezer came in and also Ukraine also showed us something. Randall, I realized I was Randall back when I was 22 years old. I just finished some intense Marine Corps training. The best branch of the military, the toughest guys, the few, the proud. Get that Freezer, right? Um, Then I went to Little Creek, Virginia, and there's an obstacle course that was like about a mile long, crazy intense course. Even the best of the Marines, which I was one of the best, barely made it through. Most of us didn't make it. I made it through crawling out the last part of it. Then I saw a bunch of guys out in the ocean who were rappelling back and forth, full gear. I mean, 50 pounds of gear, M16s, swimming about a half mile in from the ocean. Eventually started running in the water. They ran through, went through the course, finished it. One of them, as he ran by me, winked like walk in the park. And I realized I am Randall and that's Kyrie Irving. I mean, it was eye-opening. I was like, oh my goodness. By the way, they were Navy SEALs. The branch of the military we made most fun of, they were SEALs. And I realized, oh damn, that's what Kyrie Irving is. And I'm Julius Randle. So just real quickly, the recognition between a number one among basically big fish in a small pond. That's what Randall kind of is right now in the Knicks. And I think Kevin Love was a perfect example of that when he was in Minnesota. Kevin was put up MVP numbers. he was guaranteed number one. As soon as it came to Cleveland, number three, sometimes even number four. So it is humbling to recognize who the elite are and realize that we don't have that. And I don't know if we
Yet.
can win without that. Not in the current NBA. So
Yeah.
last week was positive, like Frieza was, where we're like, oh man, we won these two, could be the Nets now, and then we could really be a team that could contend. One piece away, little adjustments. Humbled again by the Nets.
I don't know if you're wrong though, just because of that one game. I don't know if you know.
Well, no, it wasn't necessarily the results of the game. It was the conduct of the team of the individual guys' performances in the game. I think because they didn't step up, actually no one really stepped up that game. Maybe IQ. And then adjustments by the coaches. Again, I got to throw Tibbs in there. It looks like it'll be very difficult for this team, as constructed, with even one more piece.
Wiz, let me say something to you real quick. So for one, I'm here to tell you, if that game was 8:00 Saturday night, we'd have beat the Nets by 12. Right. And I know, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, right? But when you look at our track record of those Saturday afternoon matinee games, bro, we just don't show. We just don't show, bro. We just don't. And I know people are gonna want to dispute that. I dispute it all you want, but it don't matter if we'd have been playing the Orlando Magic. We'd have just came out there and laid down, bro. It's those Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Look at the King Holiday game against Toronto. Yeah. Right. Look back to that disaster, that Saturday game against Dallas, where Dallas wiped the floor with us and got Cam Reddish bench for the rest of his life with Tibbs. Right. The Knicks just come out. Those mid, and it don't matter.
So does that show that we're?
And I think it goes back further than this season.
Right. But I think another point is don't get too high on the wins and don't get too low on the losses.
On the losses, right.
On the losses. Yep. But I have to say, Freezy, I'm still encouraged. I've just seen this team play good basketball for an extended period of time. And I just feel like they need to work on the consistency. And I think that'll come once they play together for a little longer. But I'm not adverse. Don't get me wrong. If we can get that guy, get him. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Immanuel Quickley. Last season he played 23 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot just 39% overall from the field. That was an issue last year with our wings. They shot like 39 to 40% overall. 34% from 3-point line. A good 54.3%, a little below average true shooting percentage. 88%. For this season, his minutes is up. 27 minutes, 12.6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 43.5% from the field, 34.5% from 3, a true shooting percentage of 55.9, 84% from the free throw line. He wasn't a high turnover guy. Good offensive and defensive rating. The last 15 games, he's playing 33 minutes, 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, shooting almost 50% from the field, up 37% from 3, a 61.7% true shooting percentage, 83% from the free throw line, turning it over less than 1 turnover a game. An offensive rating of 117, a defensive rating of 108.3. He has the highest net rating on the team over the past 15 games. Let's start with, what are your observations on Quickley? Let's start soft and then we'll move into the tough question.
Can I just ask one more question, if you could? What's the win-loss record during this 15 games?
I can look it up. I'll look it up. But what's your
number one, that 3-point percentage has reached back up to 34%. after a horrible beginning of the season.
Right.
So that says to me you can probably go back further than 15 games, and the 3-point percentage has been on a rise.
Mhm.
So and he's probably gonna get closer to 40 by the end of the season if he continues. Um, Tibbs trust him. That's that like even more. I definitely noticed that. Sometimes he's playing um RJ minutes. Sometimes he's playing Grimes minutes in that fourth quarter. Um, and he's been effective. The percentages. Um, it's up. He's finishing um with the twos. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think sky's the limit for Quick.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else just want to comment before we get into some of the tougher questions?
I'm happy Quickly has made these improvements. I was very tough on him, and I'll continue to give him his props. I still don't see him as a starter. I think he's good in the role coming off the bench, where maybe he plays 20 minutes today, maybe he plays 30 minutes tomorrow. But I mean, he's been he's been one of the more steady players. I mean, you look at the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of losses, unfortunately, but he's been one of the more consistent players. And that was really my biggest thing is he was, the first year, especially, and even still a lot last year, just very erratic and just doing a little too much. So he's brought that down. And I mean, the numbers are what the numbers are. I mean, and more importantly, though, his defense has earned him the opportunity to be out there on that floor, and he's not just relying on just him chucking up threes and being a factor that way. He's actually earning play based on defense ability. So he keeps that up. He'll be continue to get minutes, and Tibbs is going to put him out there.
Yeah. Over the last 15 games, the Knicks were 9-6 with the
9-6.
ninth best record in the NBA. Though they were tied with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. 5 teams were tied for ninth. Yeah. Over that time, 9-6.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to comment on Quick, or are we just gonna get into it?
Actually,
Okay.
Freezy, I think you can improve my point, Freezy. If we can wake up at 12 o'clock in New York City and be up enough to beat those Nets that have been crushing us for how many years,
Right.
then it proves that we're not quite ready yet, in a certain sense, because that means, I mean, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and ready to whoop you. I don't care what you do. If you've been whooping me for all these times, and you're in my city, and you have a guys who talk trash, and you don't have KD, and you don't have Ben Simmons, I'm coming there to whoop your, you know what. So
Right.
these guys are something. There's something missing. Again, we're talking about the dog in these guys. Whatever it is, there's a little edge to this team that's missing, and I don't know if one player is going to help everybody else rise to that occasion. I don't know if a Pat Bev or Jay Crowder, whoever it is going to bring that fight, that dog out of us to fight.
Yeah, that's a unit. That's a
But
but that's a universal point though. Everybody won't do that.
Right.
Right.
But listen, we say that about the Brooklyn game. I saw a lot of fight in the Cleveland game. I saw a lot of fight in the Boston game. So it's kind of hard to just look at one game and to make the sweeping statements that they not tough. The Knicks, even in the Brooklyn game, they battled back.
Right.
They just didn't have that that guy. But
Superstar,
anyway,
right. So
we-
quickly
Mhm.
is that to me though. Quickly is a kind of guy who steps up his game and is stepping it up, but incrementally. What I do like about Quickly is that he keeps improving faster and faster at a rate that most of our other players are not doing. So this is what
Correct.
Quickly showed me that he's every game he's making another step in some way, shape, or form in some part of his game. He's increasing his efficiency, he's increasing his defensive tenacity. So the good thing about Quickley is that I see a trajectory that's almost vertical, that's almost 45 degrees. I was gonna try to use a stock term about his, double bottom or whatever, but he's definitely has a trajectory upwards that's showing me. I'd buy his stock. I'm invested in it quickly.
I'm buying. I'm gonna see.
I'm bullish.
This is where I am now on Quickley, and I'm hard on players. Like I need to see something. I need to see something. This is where I am on Quickley. Let me see if I could put it up here. I'm not trading Quickley unless we putting him in a package for a star. I'm not. On a championship team, you need that guy that can come in and play the 1, can play the 2, can defend both positions. I'm not trading him. Now, my issue with Quickley coming into this season and last season as well was his shot selection and his decision making. Some guys don't ever get it together. In my opinion, I think he has. Is he perfect? No. But these past 15 games, I see Quickley playing within the confines of the game. I see him feeling when we need a bucket and going in there and getting us one. Does he miss some players that might be open? He ain't the only one. I like what he brings to this team. And when you look at his defense, listen, everybody want to talk about Grimes. IQ is the best perimeter defender on this team, period, point blank. The stats bear it out, but all you have to do is watch him. His defensive IQ is off the charts. He's guarding somebody at the top of the key. Somebody miss a rotation. He running over there. He's contesting the shot. And I agree with Wiz. Out of all of our young players, including RJ Barrett, Quickley, in my opinion, has grown the most. That's where I'm at with Quick. And this is just his 3rd year. Pay that man. Pay him. Because all you're going to do when you do become a championship contender is go out and look for somebody like Quick.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you were saying it, I didn't think he was quite there, probably. But I'm seeing it now. I know some people in the chat are saying, it's only 15 games. Wait, he'll probably swing back the other way. But I've seen Quickley close games. I've seen him start. I've seen him come off the bench. He's been super solid. His that's the hardest part of the game. And I'm gonna let Freezy talk. That's the hardest part of the game. When do I pass? When do I go for mine? When do I play within the confines of the game? When do I break, roll, and go into mode? Because this is what that's the hardest part of the game, for a player who has a bag, which Quickley does. Anyway, go ahead, Freezy.
No, I'm just soaking it up. The only thing I have to say is I told you so.
Yeah, but you was going on faith because you was telling me at a time when his decision making wasn't quite there. But I hear you. You was believing that he would come along. No, I had to see it for myself.
Well, both of those could be true. I think you're absolutely right on that. I didn't attribute Quickley's bad shot selection and non-passing totally to Quickley. Okay. I think Tom Thibodeau runs a bizarrely odd, archaic yet noir offense. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of be in it puts you in like a peculiar space. Like nobody. I mean, think about how the offense looked the last 2 seasons with Quickley. And think about who was also in this offense with Quickley. And then think about like who is Quickley passing, what are his options? And then this year he turns the corner. Ironically, he turns the corner, but at the same time that he turned the corner, it's the same year that the Knicks have a professional point guard to run this bizarre watching the Tom Thibodeau offense is like watching that movie LA Confidential. Right? Like it's a new movie, but it gives you those yeah. So I think it's Quickley something like Quickley had a lot to do with it. I think what we're running had a lot to do with it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we running? Do we have any baseline actions when the pick and roll is at the top of the key? Do we have cutters that are cutting that anticipate getting passes from other guys that are cutting at the same time? Do you see a lot of in-depth ball movement where people touch it and the defense is always threatened? No. And then to put Quickley in that and say, hey, man, make perfect decisions every time, kind of puts anybody in kind of that weird, so I'm thinking it's 50% Quickley, but 50% Tibbs. But where Quickley is right now, I kind of like it. And Wes, I just have a line. I know Drake is not a real rapper, but I just have to say this to you. The bandwagon's full, but you can still try and run behind it. I'm sorry. That's a Drake line. That's in terms of the Quickley bandwagon. So, yeah, man.
Do you think he should be starting? And I'm over Brunson or Grimes. Obviously, I feel over Brunson. No. The only reason I wouldn't start him behind over Grimes is because we don't have a point guard for that second unit.
Right.
But I think about those open shots Grimes is getting off of Randall. And I'm like, if that was IQ, he would have knocked it down.
Right.
He would have knocked it down.
Right.
But your thoughts on whether you think, because somebody in the chat said they think he should even start over Brunson. Your thoughts on whether or not I know, but I'm just, the chat is family too. If you think he should be starting over Brunson and or Grimes, and why or why not?
No, you're not starting over Brunson. That's easy. I'm not really sure who's thinking this, where you're getting this thought pattern from. It'd be great to share that comment though. Steph, if you find it, would love to shout them out. If you wanted to start,
I gotta protect my chat members. Doesn't sound like you're gonna give them a good chat out, a good shout out. So
shout out to the target out there, back.
Shout out to the chat, definitely.
Shout out to the chat for sure.
If you wanted to start him over Grimes, though, I mean, I could at least respectfully hear the argument. I wouldn't agree with it, but I could definitely say, listen, there is an argument for it. I just think that the mentality that IQ, aka Quickley, plays with, is just more beneficial to the team in a role where he comes off the bench and then you let him close if he's having one of those games. Whether Grimes sits, RJ sits, maybe even Brunson sits, depending on what the flow of those players are in those games. And that's like, to me, every really good team has a player like that on the bench where they're good enough to potentially be a starter. Right. And some games, depending on how the starters are playing and how that player is playing, one of those 2 or 3 players might sit and that bench player closes. So I think that's an ideal role for Quickley. And I think that with the players in front of him, it's reasonable. It's reasonable.
Right. Anybody else want to comment?
Is IQ the Harden, OKC Harden? Is that what he is?
Is he the who?
Harden from OKC. Remember, Harden was 6 man, right, on the bench, and he could definitely have started back then too. But the way the team's chemistry was, it just didn't quite work for him to get in the start lineup. And I kind of feel the same way with IQ right now. But I would start him over Grimes right now. Unfortunately, I'd have to let Grimes just for a few games and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Quickly and shout out to JJ, talking about the height. I do think, man, if he was 2 inches taller with that wingspan, 6'5" with that wingspan, I would put him right out there on the twos. But I think just the way that this team is constructed, not necessarily his talent level, but the way this team is constructed, he's better coming off the bench, right? He's 6'3" guard, and he does guard the two. He does guard the twos. But that second unit would be a disaster without Quickly because we don't have any ball handlers. We don't have any ball handlers. But he's undersized at the two, but on some nights, Grimes is undersized as well, depending on who we're playing. So so in terms of the way this team is constructed, I would keep him where he is. But Quick is looking, he's looking all right. I guess the next question is, would you pay him? A lot of people are saying he's up for an extension. He's asking for $20 million. I heard Andy earlier saying, he'll give him 10 or 12, but if he wants $20 million, then we should trade him, before that time. Your thoughts on paying Quickly?
Pay that man. Pay that man, because even I think his value is high enough that even if he's included in a bigger trade down the road, that salary that we're paying him is gonna help minimize whatever else we got to give up.
20 mil?
20 plus mil, yeah.
That'll
20
be
plus, 20 plus now. We pushing it, Freezy. We pushing it.
Nah,
pushing it.
no, because the thing about it is the Knicks fans always talk about the one that got away. Man, we do such and such, and then he goes somewhere else and be somebody. And Quickly is showing you right now that he can push your starter at the point and the two. We having a conversation about should he start. He can go somewhere right now and start. The Phoenix Suns, I'm sorry, not the Phoenix Suns, but the LA Clippers have him, Fred VanVleet, and Kyle Lowry on the same level. The rumor is that they would either take Fred VanVleet, Immanuel Quickley, or Kyle Lowry. But Knicks fans will say, well, nah, man, he ain't really that. But he being compared to a dude that was a franchise point guard for the Toronto Raptors. Both of them played for the Toronto Raptors and won a championship. The Clippers look at him in that vein. Now, mind you, it's the Clippers. What do they know about point guards? They only had one of the greatest to ever play the position there with them. So what do they know, right? But if you're a Knicks fan, now is not the time for us to be like, yo, I'll pay him $12 million when you got Evan Fournier Rump sitting on your bench making $18 million, not even playing. You know what I'm saying? We can't be hypocritical. You know what I'm saying, with these things. You got Derrick Rose making $14 million, Fournier on the bench making $18 million. You got $32 million on your bench. But then when it comes to Quickly, a guy who want to be here and all he wants to do is play, we can talk about, nah, man, 20 plus mil is too much. What are we doing?
Well, the only reason I'm saying that, we would have to look at the cap and see what the cap implications are in terms of us being able to fill out the rest of the team. But I see Quick playing a pivotal role on a championship contending team. I don't see him as being better than Brunson right now. But 2-3 years from now, who knows? Who knows?
What if he had the responsibility of Brunson? What if he was the starting point guard? Will we still be having the same conversation?
We might, because I think you're not gonna know. You're not gonna know until you put him in that situation.
Right.
You're not gonna know.
We just don't want to have that situation be Quickly with the Orlando Magic, and then having to face him 2 or 3 times a year with
Well,
Paolo
listen,
and all them guys.
if he feels like he doesn't want to sign with the Knicks because the Knicks have already signed a point guard and he believes that he is so that's the only reason I'm letting Quickley go. We putting him in a trade for a superstar, or he says he wants to be a point guard on his own team like
Right.
Brunson did. Then what are you going to do?
Then we'll to y'all point. Then we'll let Quickley go and put Miles McBride in Quickley role and see what happens.
If he says he wants to go, Freezy, what are you doing? If he says he wants to be the starting point guard on the team, what are you doing?
I don't know. That's a hypothetical. I can't answer.
But it's
But
but it's close to being. He's up for an extension next year. I think he's going to sign it. But what if he doesn't?
Right, but
Because
so
he wants his own team.
Right, but so is Obi. Obi in the same situation. Obi is blocked too, and he is extension eligible.
I'll just say, Steph,
Mhm.
I'll just say this. I'm gonna put my confidence in the front office, because whether it was Randall, even Brunson to some degree, I know some people feel like RJ's overpaid, but by the time the third year of this contract,
Right.
it'll be an average contract. So I just think that the front office will either find a way to get him at a number that's team friendly, because they've done a lot of team friendly deals over the past 3 years.
You sound like Tony Crow, but go ahead.
Well, Tony is my guy, so I'm not surprised, we on this wavelength. The team has done so many management has done so many team friendly deals. I'm confident that either A, they'll do that, or B, they'll strike a deal that is just so good that it'll be beneficial to the team, and they trade him. I don't think this front office is going to be Dallas Mavericks stupid and let a guy walk away for nothing. You know what I mean? I don't see him walking away because he wants to be the point guard of his own future. That whole thing, that's not going to happen.
Hey, man,
he might. You mean it's not gonna? It might not happen here, but I don't know if you could say it's not going to happen in the league.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about Quickley on this team. I don't see him walking away for nothing the way the Mavericks allowed that to happen with Brunson.
Right.
They're gonna
I agree with that.
Either re-sign him to a team-friendly 2-3 year deal this offseason, or they re-sign him and just re-up the rookie contract for one more year.
No, they ain't. Quickly gonna make them pay. Quickly gonna make them pay anything. Bread.
He can't make anything this year. Not this
Quickly
year.
Gonna make them pay cheese, bro.
Because you think Quickley getting $100 million contract?
He gonna make because what's gonna happen in that same scenario that DJ Shuttle just mentioned, if they don't agree to nothing. See, this is the same scenario that Brunson went through with the Mavericks.
But the Mavericks could have traded him and they didn't.
Right, but the point I'm getting at is, keep messing around, keep playing with your food, and then all you're gonna be able to offer is 4 for 55.
They'll trade him.
That's why Jalen Brunson is not a Maverick right now.
But no, Brunson would have took the 4 for 55.
I know he would have.
They didn't.
Brunson that.
Right.
Wait.
So they messed up.
But that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is we talking about, okay, all right. So first of all, DJ Shuttle, I love DJ Shuttle, but everything he said is absolutely wrong. Right? The Knicks don't sign people to team-friendly contracts. I'm watching Evan Fournier on the bench with $18 million. How is that team-friendly and he ain't even playing?
Yeah, that's true. But Randall and RJ's are.
Right.
I'm looking at contract.
I'm looking at Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose making $14 million. He ain't even playing.
But
also look at their impact last year.
Why y'all coming? Can I please finish my point? I just want to finish my point. I was listening. Just let me finish. Right? We signed Alec Burks to that ridiculous contract and then had to attach draft picks to trade him. We signed Nerlens Noel to that ridiculous non-team friendly contract and had to attach draft picks to trade him. Kemba Walker, how was that team friendly? The Knicks don't always sign people to team friendly deals, bruh. They got some of them right and some of them wrong. But just to say because guys are out of sight, out of mind that they did it right is not accurate. Right? Because we
Okay.
watch Fournier
There's-
right now not even playing.
The most important play is Freezy to team friendly
Well,
deals.
$18 million is important to me.
Yeah, well, but
Yeah, I
listen,
mean,
the
$14
Knicks were in a
million is-
different. Okay,
Oh,
but the Knicks were in a different place at that time, Freezy. They had free agency money that they were
They signed Fournier after they signed Randall.
right. They still had money though that summer.
Yep.
They had
Yeah,
money that
exactly.
summer.
Um,
I mean, but
the thing is,
listen,
though,
I hear what you're saying. But what I'm saying,
I ain't gonna go.
in terms of, you're right.
I just
They got Randall right.
Smelled blood in the water. I just
Yeah.
started going. You know,
They got Randall right. They got RJ right.
When they be blood in the water,
And hopefully they get IQ right. The bottom line is you're not going to be able to sign everybody and still have money left over to build a championship contending team. The Knicks are going to have to make some choices with the contracts they have coming up.
Right.
And I think Quickley can stay and the rest of them are going to have to, may have to go. At least Grimes have a few more years so we can see who he's going to become.
But it's not that easy because right now you are assuming that the Knicks are going to trade Cam Reddish, right? But
you don't think they're going to trade him?
No. Hold on. I'm saying we're assuming that the Knicks are going to trade Cam Reddish, right? What if other teams don't offer the Knicks what they want for Cam? Right?
From what I understand, that there's some deals already on the table for draft picks.
Right.
If they aren't able to get what they really want for Cam, I think he's gonna get he's gone. It may not be for the compensation we think though.
We're assuming that he'll be gone, but the Knicks have 3 guys that are looking at contract extensions this summer: Cam, Obi, and IQ. Right. So what if all 3 of them are here? Then what are we gonna do? We're assuming that Cam will be traded. That still leaves you with 2.
Right.
They don't have to get extensions though. They can just get the qualifying offers.
Right. You don't have to extend them. That's what they did. Isn't that what they did with Ntilikina?
They picked up his 4th year option.
4th year option.
And that's what they'll do for Quickley and Obi. And then they'll look at looking at, but now it can't be exactly because you're going down the Jalen Brunson road when you do that. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think they'll do that though. I don't think they'll do that. I think I think Quickley gets extended, and I think Obi the jury's still out on.
Right.
And before they reach that point where I know I'm not extending either one of them, let's say, they will trade them.
Okay.
That I firmly believe. I just I can't see the Mavs stupidity happening with this front office where they allowed themselves to watch Quickley walk away after the qualifying offer and get nothing in return. Like
Shuttle, again, you're making this too easy for me, bro. You got to make this thing hard. I smell blood in the water, bro. because you say that, right? And this summer, okay. So this is why you're making it easy for me. You said you can't see him doing it, right?
Me either.
They did okay, but they just did the same thing to Mitchell Robinson.
They re-signed.
They did the same thing. No,
they re-signed.
But they took a chance though.
But what I'm saying is that road that you said that you can't see the Knicks going down. They went down that road with Mitch, and they offered Mitch above market value to stay. Mitch was an unrestricted free agent. Mitchell Robinson,
but I think there was some
have to sign back with the Knicks.
He didn't, but I think there was some assurance. I think there was some back channel. I don't think the Knicks would have took that risk had they not had some intel that he would have signed. And I think it was better for him to sign as a free agent than to because first of all, they didn't even have a choice because he was because of the contract that he was right, second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
No, they could have signed him to an extension. Instead, they picked up the team option for him. They did it 2 years in a row.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did it 2 years in a row.
Yes, they
did.
Did.
Because they could have gave him the contract and terminated the team option. and signed him to a long-term deal, that would have
Right.
been less AAV. They could have terminated and signed him for 4 for 48, but they didn't.
Right.
Instead, they did a team option. He hit free agency,
Right.
and he had his choice. And they're like, "Well, we'll bring you back 4 for 60."
Yeah, but I think that you don't think there was some back channel talking though. You think he was really a free agent? You don't think him and that they already knew they had something?
I
Him and
do.
his agent
No,
already knew they had something.
as far as that go,
A minimum
as
and a
far as
maximum.
as far as that go, I don't want to speculate to that. What I'm talking about is the process of a unrestricted free agent going down this road. That's what I'm speaking to. Now, as far as them having a handshake deal at Dave and Buster's, is whatever it is, what I mean.
But I think
it
that
may have
had a lot
happened.
to do with why it got that far because of that.
That may have happened, but they went through the process of a guy that had these team options. The same thing that Brunson went through. Because remember, Brunson is not a first round pick like Quickley. Brunson is a second round pick like Mitch.
Like Mitch, yes.
Right? That's what I'm saying. That's why I'll be like, man, I smell his blood in the water, man. You got to.
I do.
I don't think.
I do.
All right,
I think it's- I think it's-
we'll see.
I think it's a different scenario though. I think that with if I had to weigh who's more valuable, even though it may seem like Mitch is more valuable and he may be more valuable to the defense and the whole scope of the team. When you look at the situation of the need to trade or re-sign, I think that Quickly's need to make a move is greater than the need to have made a move on what Mitchell was to re-sign him.
That you don't think that Quickley is going to go down that far. We'll see. I definitely think there's a better chance. See, with Mitch was making 1.8 million, and they wanted that space. That's why they didn't really want to sign him to an extension. They wanted that. They wanted that space, and
I'm gonna say real quick though, by the way, freezing.
Yes.
They wanted that space to sign Fournier to an unfriendly team contract. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at.
But I wouldn't go 20 plus on IQ. But actually, before I even get there, I gotta always say.
But you like Miles McBride, right?
I was about to say this to you.
You like Miles McBride, right?
Deuce's name out of your.
It's because you like Miles McBride. That's why.
He's a point guard. Give him a year and a half. Anyway, but IQ has to get an early offer, an assurance about how good he is. I think the 20 plus million is too close to Brunson's. It actually almost diminishes Brunson's contract value to an extent. From Brunson's point of view, I think that could cause some rift. I mean, I know these guys do not watch each other's pockets, but I'm concerned when you start to give guys like IQ 20 plus mil, rivaling Brunson, RJ, and Randall's contract, that it could begin to cause some kind of, unintentional rift that they might even realize that they feel a certain way, and then we start to now limit ourselves on cap space regarding the free agent. If we want to get a free agent, we may have to just trade for agent and signing. Whether we got to have a Kuzma and then go above the cap and go luxury tax. But I'll give IQ max 18 mil. I'll give him a slightly higher than Mitch contract, but I wouldn't go in the 20s.
Well, why wouldn't you go in the 20s? Because it starts with a 2.
Because it's going to impact.
Yeah.
I would have to look at the cap and the luxury tag and see does paying him that limit what we can do. If it's just a matter of money and it doesn't limit what we can do as far as going out, because at some point when you get into the luxury tax to become a tax paying team, there's certain things you can and cannot do, as far as the mid-level exception, whatever. There's certain things you can and can't do depending on that. So if it's just a money issue that Dolan has to pay, I don't have a problem with it. If that's just Dolan's money and it doesn't impact who we can go out and get, it doesn't impact our mid-level exceptions or anything like that, pay him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have any any problem with that. But you can't lock yourself. This is where the Knicks are. They locked themselves into a almost 400 million with Mitch, RJ, Randall, and Brunson. You're going to add another 75 million, 475 million, lock into a core that's not a championship core. But you have the draft capital. And when a star does come along, one of those players, if not two, are going to go anyway.
Somebody got to go.
All right. Anything else?
Lucky too.
Yep. Very. Yep.
Some of these stars. I mean, look. Who would have thunk? Joker would be Joker, MVP, 2-time MVP. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I mean when I say lucky. Like that's extremely lucky.
Right.
And I'm sure in their greatest imaginations, they like the guy, they drafted him, or they traded for him, they developed him, but they didn't think he would be that.
Right. Anything else on quick before we start talking about next week's games? No? All right.
I'm with you on. I'm only trading him if it's for a superstar, included in the superstar.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, all hands on deck, right? Everybody is.
And I think extending him helps in that aspect as well. I'll say that too.
Yeah, you
Right.
need that money in the contract. Yep.
Right. All right. Before we get into next week's game, we are 7th in the Eastern Conference, 27-24. Now, there's some games that have been played earlier. This was as of this morning. One game behind Miami Heat for the 6th spot, and a game and a half in front of Atlanta in the 8th spot. Philly has won 7 straight, 9-1 over their last 10. Washington Wizards, again, that's what I'm saying. 6 through 12 is in contention. 6 through 12 throughout the season will be turning over. Look at that. Washington Wizards won 5 straight. They're now in the 9th spot. At one point in the season, I think they were 11th or 12th.
Let's go Wizards.
Exactly. Let's go Wizards.
Go Wizards. Go Wizards.
Might have 3 picks.
Right.
It's a great draft to have three first rounders.
Yeah, definitely. So we play the Lakers Tuesday. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see. Let me move myself over a little. All right. We play the Lakers Tuesday, the Heat Thursday, the Clippers Saturday, and the 76ers Sunday, all at home, if I am not mistaken.
Okay, good. Okay.
The Lakers are 13th in the Western Conference, but the Heat are 6th in the Eastern Conference. The Clippers are 4th in the Western Conference, and the 76ers are 2nd in the Eastern Conference. And I wouldn't even put a lot of stock in where the Lakers are and their record. This is going to be a tough game for the Knicks because they're rolling in there with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right?
And this is going to be a hard game because they ain't playing tonight, and the refs owe them one. So we cannot let this game be close. We need to make it a blowout. So there's no way the refs could implement any type of fake fouls or anything to make up for what they did to him the other night.
Yeah.
Right. 3 of these teams we have yet to see this season: the Lakers, the Heat, and the Clippers. If I'm not mistaken, the 76ers we've seen twice. Listen, we could go through offensive and defensive rating. That just tells you what the team has been doing up to this point. Doesn't tell you what's going to happen in a particular game, right? I can't wait for the Heat game. I just cannot wait for that, for that game. But anyway, let me just go through the Knicks. Yeah, game of the week. Let me just go through this. The Knicks are 27-24. They are 7th in the Eastern Conference in the standing. They're 8th in offensive rating, 17th in defensive rating. To drop from 5 or 6 to 17th tells you that your defense over that period of time was probably like 24, 25, 28, right? In order for it to drop like that. 17th in defensive rating, net rating of still 9, 1.6. The Knicks still have one of the better, well, they're top 10 in net rating, the difference between our offense and the defense. The Knicks have no issues scoring the basketball. May not look pretty, but they're not having any issues on that end of the court as far as the actual score. It's the defense. Any thoughts on this upcoming week? Any of these teams? How you think the Knicks will do? Any concerns you have?
I
Anyone you're
feel.
looking forward to?
I mean, I listed my concerns with the Lakers, and it's not because of the Lakers. It's more because of the refs and how that last game went for them.
Yep.
I think we could easily go anywhere from 3-1 to 1-3.
Mhm.
I think we should be able to beat the Lakers, based off of who they've been this year. Um, and I feel like if we beat the Lakers, no matter what, we should be ready for the Heat because of how close we are in the standings and you know playoff positioning. I think we match up well with them as well. Um, I think that could even be a game where I would worry less about Mitchell Robinson's absence. Um, and the Clippers, who knows who's playing and who's not. You know what I mean, and what team we're going to be facing there. You know, they could very well have a load management night. Um, and they've been off and on all year as well. The I think the most dangerous team is Philly out of that bunch. But I think
Yeah.
we could win those first three if we playing at our best.
Yeah, when I look at Philly, I always look at, even with Mitch, I always look at Philly as one of the worst matchups for this team. Stopping Harden and stopping Embiid, just not really, just not really catering to the strength of this defense. So yeah, that's definitely the game that concerns me the most. Definitely the Heat is a big bullseye for me. Number one, I don't like the Heat. Number two, they need to get beat just for the sake of tiebreakers, and all of that. So, and I hope the team doesn't overlook the Lakers. Clippers is like, you know, you don't know who you're gonna get when you play the Clippers. One day they look like all stars, they look like championship contenders. The next game they look like, they don't know what they're doing. So, you know, Heat 76ers, to me, those are definitely the big games. I'd say
You know
two and
what?
two. I'd say 2-2 this week.
What I will say though about all four of these teams, they have certified bucket getters
Oh yeah.
down the stretch, and the Knicks don't have that. And I think that's a concern when you get to those waning moments of the game. And I'm hoping that I just want Brunson and or Randall to step up in the waning moments of the game. You may fail. You may fail. You may not get it done against their best players. But I just want to see them take the challenge in crunch time, if it even gets to that. Um, anybody else want to talk about next the slate of games coming up?
Oh man, now imagine that we're I'm fearful that we're playing at home.
We haven't been
At
great at
home,
home though.
home. I know that's one of my biggest concerns is we're playing at home. And
Mhm.
then the toughest team of the group, we're playing in
Oh,
the
sorry.
afternoon with freezers, statistics about afternoon games, and it's a back to back. I mean, we go
Saturday
from
and Sunday, yeah.
we go from Clippers to 76ers.
That's why we got to
20,
win the first one.
less than 24 hours later. It's not even like it's been 24 hours. It's a 3 p.m. game Sunday, 4 p.m. game Saturday. So we're gonna be ending the game Saturday night. Run to the club, party a little bit, maybe get some sleep, and get back to the game the next day. If you're a Derek Coleman back in the day, like you see him all the
Mhm.
time. But so the 76ers game is the one that I don't know how they're gonna do it. Adrenaline, whatever it is, there have to be something extra in the time that they walk out there, and because they're so perhaps tired and maybe zero expectations and not over guessing and overestimating what's gonna happen, they're gonna walk out there and just do something crazy and potentially win that game. But I'm leaning to the likelihood is that it's a game that could be the downfall of these four. I think we're gonna take Miami. I really think that we've come to this space. Last week's games brought me back more optimistic that we're gonna realize we can beat the elite. We have it in us. And what's the formula? It's efficiency and defense. And we can do it. So Miami, I think we can take. Clippers, man, it's Kawhi and I mean, my PG is what playing.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh
They sit out
man.
from time to time too. Not that I'm looking
Like,
forward to that, but they do.
exactly. They're both of them playing and they come to the Mecca after LeBron has been there, especially. LA's little brothers. So, being out here, I see how the Clippers are treated. And man, it's not pretty the way Laker fans talk about the Clippers. So they're gonna come in saying, "Oh, what did LeBron do? Let's do better." And it may be that kind of thing where it's not even us they're going against. They're
Right.
going against the Lakers performance from Tuesday. So
Right.
if Lakers actually lose, they're gonna definitely want to beat us because they want to show they can beat us, and they lost to us. So they have a little one-up. If Lakers win, then they have to beat us. And that's
Right.
another thing that makes me more fearful. So 1-3,
Mm.
2-2 is my estimate though. I'm saying 2-2. We're gonna take Lakers. LeBron may have a sore knee, I heard, and tomorrow we're gonna say don't come to our house. And we're gonna put our foot down, plant our flag. Miami and Lakers, we're taking them. The other two, challenged.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say 2-2, but this is what I will say. I'm not underestimating this Knicks team. I think they've shown us that they can beat, some pretty good teams. It just depends on where's the defense that night, where's Randall and Brunson that night, how are we shooting that night? Um, how locked in are we that particular night? So I'm not going in thinking 0-4. The Knicks have some fight in them. They have some fight in them. I'm gonna say 2-2.
Yep. Trying to see how we can beat the Clippers though. That's if Clippers are fully healthy, just
That's why
those
we
two
play the
guys, man.
games.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm
That's why.
standing on my 3-1.
Yeah,
Oh
that's why
wow.
we played. That's why we play the games. On paper, when we went into that Cleveland Boston series, a lot of us were saying 0-3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of
Yep.
us were saying 0-3 as well. Um,
If the
And I'm trying to
Boston,
go three. I'm trying to go 3-1 like Tony. I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to find that 3-1. And
if the
yeah.
if the Brooklyn game was the first game of last week, would y'all feel different?
Say that again.
If
Ooh.
the Brooklyn game was the first game of last week, would y'all feel different?
And we won it.
No, we lost, but then we
And
came
then
back
we
and won
beat Boston. Yeah, probably.
Boston
Yeah,
and
Oh
and and,
wow.
yeah,
and
yeah,
Cleveland.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like
Emotional,
you said earlier,
emotional,
we came back in that game. It just was a little too little, too late. You know what I mean? Like
emotional,
Right,
emotional
right,
human beings, Tony. We know how this goes. You
right,
lost the last game. Your emotions are low. Your morale is not as high as you needed to be to have the confidence
right.
to say 2 wins, 3 wins, or even 4 wins. I get it. I get it.
I mean, they shot out their minor from 3-point range. Although we helped them with that, that's the part that I think that's the key right there. They shut out their minds, and because we kind of said to them, we dare them take a shot in a certain sense. Inadvertently, we said, I want to see you guys hit 3-pointers, go 2 for 2, go 3 for 3, and then you the point guard who is afraid to fall off the edge of the earth. You're crazy. Go ahead. You can't be in full quarter by yourself if you wanted to. But he said,
Yeah,
he said, hold my beer. And bam, he showed us how a superstar plays. So it next game was winnable, man. It was very winnable. And that's what I'm concerned about this week as well. Is that which game are we going to take off a little bit again because we're not playing optimally?
right.
Or we have a coach that may not optimize our skill set by making the adjustments necessary, especially in the fourth quarter when we know there's a guy who's going to go off in the fourth quarter. Only job was don't let Kyrie go off in the fourth quarter. That would be my
How do you
my mandate.
how do you stop that? I mean, I would have liked to have seen the Knicks run double teams at
Double teams. Yeah.
Kyrie, but this is what happens. You run a double team, he passes it, he cuts, he gets the ball back, he does his thing, you know? But I still would have liked to have seen it. I know the Knicks did it once or twice. I would have liked them to do it more.
Even
Those
even
3-point
with,
shooting,
even with the
huh?
way the team was shooting from three.
You know what they were in the first half. I would have just seen if they were still hot. But Tony, I agree with you. I agree.
I was kind of like, let's get McBride in here with that full court defense a little bit more. You know, let's just
Deuce,
I mean,
listen,
I'm not saying he's going to stop him. I'm not saying, but let's try something
but
different.
Grimes' defense wasn't bad. Grimes was all over him. You saw the shots he was
in the
hitting?
half court. But just like for me, like it's like boxing. You got to wear these guys out. And if you put McBride on him in the first half, make him work hard a full length of the court, make him, work a little harder to get the ball, even if it's only for 3-4 minutes, you'll just be in that, get in there for 3 minutes, and we'll get you out.
Right.
Just as something to disrupt him a little bit.
This is what I will say. He had 11 points through 3 quarters. He had 11 points through 3 quarters. He wasn't doing much of anything because the rest of the team, he was fresh.
And that was by design. That's what he's been doing since Durant went out, or at least in this past like 10-game stretch or 8-game stretch. Like he's been finishing games for them and taking over. But throughout the game, he's kind of just been playing with the team, getting his assists, building other people up.
Yeah, well, you letting him bring the ball up so easily. Like, this is what I'm saying. Wear him out a little bit more, making him work a little bit harder, getting the ball up court and getting into the action. That'll exhaust him more so that he's not as, rested at the end of the game.
Yeah. I mean, Kyrie's just that dude with the handle that he has. I don't see him. Yeah, maybe. I just want to ask you guys really quick before we get out of here. I know we talk trade rumors on Tony Crow's show. Those who weren't in the chat, go look it up. Knicks and Bruises. We did a trade show earlier with the trade simulator. We went over Kuzma. Who else? OG, Gary Trent Jr., few other, players. Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott. So, be sure to
McBuckets is coming back.
Yeah. Be sure to check that out. And for those who don't know, I have my own channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, this Friday. Because the Knicks play Thursday. This Friday, 9:00, we'll have our panel show, and we'll also be talking about trade rumors. We'll be a little closer to the trade deadline Friday night. But I know there's been people in the chat talking about OG. I just want to go around real quick. Do you want him? Yes or no? And why? Real quick. This is for you, Sherwin, who said, can y'all please talk about OG?
My thing is this: if it's gonna cost, I might do 2 picks, but they gotta take Fournier, and that's my line in the sand. You know what I mean? Like, if it's gonna cost 2 picks, y'all gotta take Fournier, and I live with that. I live with the results. You know what I mean? I figure that out from there.
But which 2 picks though, Tony? Which 2 picks?
Obviously, preferably. Actually, to be honest, if they're demanding our own, then I'm doing this year and I'm doing 2025. And this way, now we still have first round picks moving forward every year, and if we move those two, we could still trade all the other picks because the two and the next two in 23 and 25 wouldn't be our own, so we could trade those as well to the next for the next move and ours in well, I don't know how ours would work moving forward, but that's how I would do it.
Okay. All right. DJ Shuttle.
Well,
Any thoughts? I mean, you
even
don't have to
though
have any thoughts.
even though OG is out for the next 4 games, I just saw that. I still definitely would be interested in trading for him, very, very much so. He, to me, he is like, when I see OG, I was like, yo, that's what I would like Barrett to be. You know what I mean? And even if it meant I had to maybe trade Barrett in a year or two, I'd be willing to, do that down the road. But yeah, I definitely would still be interested in OG. I like the idea that that Tone has. Like, listen, all right, y'all want 2 picks, cool, but you're definitely going to take this Fournier contract, off of our belt, and their contracts match up. So that's a nice, clean deal. And with deals that I think most people have been looking at for the team, really getting a quote unquote superstar, all-star type player. A lot of that stuff's been including trading Obi and trading Quickley. So being able to dump Fournier and be able to keep those players and retain them, maybe even resign them, I think that does a tremendous job to strengthen the team. Now you're looking at a bench of Quickley, Grimes, and Obi and Sims, I guess. You know what I mean? So, it's looking great. So they could definitely have 2 picks with that, and maybe even a pick swap for a third if it requires it. Because the thing is, with that lineup, you're not going to be drafting early, and you don't really look at needing too many young players that are going to be getting any significant minutes, because now you're going to have a loaded roster 8-9 deep, and we already know we a 9 deep roster anyway.
Wiz.
Sounds good. I would similar deal. I would do it. Again, the Fournier is a key. The picks, however, I would start to look at giving them second rounders as well, and try to give them less attractive first rounders. With OG, then yes, our pick should actually drop. Should be worth with OG on the team. That means OG can make it. I think you can take the second round. So that means our pick is going to go what 20 something if we bring him aboard, which means it's less valuable than Dallas's pick, and who knows, maybe even less valuable than Washington's pick if Washington gets conveyed for us. 2025. I don't know if I go 2025 for our pick, because I think anything could happen in Milwaukee. I'm not saying we're not gonna get their pick. It won't convey, but I'd like to have our 2025. So I would go for one of the unprotected, Detroit or Washington. Ours.
A lot.
Yeah. I mean, the two first rounders, like everybody's doing, except I'm going this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking out our second round this year and the second round next year, because second rounders for us, if we have that many first and we can actually use a couple, we're not going to draft players who are going to step in the rotation anyway. Because we're going to look for a superstar, and we're going to have OG. And our current rotation is so solid, in fact, to a certain extent overloaded, that rookies aren't going to shouldn't break this lineup unless it's some outstanding rookie that we just locked into. And either way, we should grab 1 or 2 this year anyway. So I did the deal. I just worry about the way he would play, and I guess Grimes will have to sit, and that's the challenge, is sitting Grimes. And again, like you said, though, Queen, he can develop off the bench, so I'll do the deal. He's a good piece.
I just think that I like OG. I really, really, really like him. But his injury history is a major concern for me. And I think that the compensation that Toronto is asking for is they're asking for it like they have a player that doesn't have an injury history. You know, I feel like when you have an injury history like that, the price should go down a little bit, right? So I'm not giving up a 3 first-round draft picks even for a healthy Anunoby. That that I'm not doing. What I would like the Knicks to do is wait until the offseason when RJ Barrett's poison pill contract, when he gets to the point where he's able to be traded, I would trade him for OG because I feel like RJ Barrett and OG backcourt, wing, you do have the height. You got the defense on OG's end. Both of those guys can shoot the three. I don't know if you would consider them knockdown shooters, but they can shoot the three.
Right.
My preference would be to have OG over RJ and to have a knockdown shooter at the 2 position in a perfect world. But in terms of the fit, like I feel like people are downplaying OG. Only thing I'm downplaying is because of the injury. This guy can shoot the three. I was watching him the other day, albeit it was when he got hurt, and I was like, "Oh, he driving to the basket now."
Mm-hmm. He moves really well.
I'm like, "Oh, he's shooting a pull up now. He's posting people, so he's scoring on." To your point, DJ Shuttle, what we would like RJ to do. But listen, he's 25. RJ's what 22, 23. RJ got 2 more years. He's scoring on all 3 levels. And he's defending multiple positions, right? And this is a guy who is averaging 17 points on a team that is the epitome of just pass it around and whoever has it, has it.
And 2 more years of very low salary, 18 and 19
Yeah,
years
that
for the
like
next 2 years.
he's not featured in
He's not
average.
featured in that
and has
offense at all.
17 points.
He's playing off of those guys, and we need somebody like that to play off of Randall and Brunson. So let's see what happens. I just don't want to give up compensation that you would give up for a healthy player for someone who just doesn't have a history of being healthy. As far as the draft picks, keep 5 in the tank no matter what. Keep 5 in your pocket in case a star becomes available. But we can't sit here just holding the team hostage and not upgrading the team, waiting for this star to become available. You still have to upgrade the team. Take your 3 protected, your 3 unprotected, and upgrade the roster. There's no star that's going to need 11 first-round draft picks.
Steph,
right?
Scare money don't make no money, Steph.
Right. And even when you do trade for a star, one of Brunson, RJ, and Randall is going to go in that trade. I know Tony disagrees. So you might not even need to use all 5 of those first round draft picks if you trade, if one of those guys go in a trade, unless by that time Grimes and Quickley are now budding stars. Right. But I would still give up RJ and keep them because of the position they play.
And making 20 million, nigga.
And making 20 million.
And that goes back to and that takes us back to the re-signing of Quickley, and even to a lesser degree re-signing Obi, because if you re-sign these guys to decent contracts, they're more valuable now to include in these trades.
Even as cap filler, if not because of their talent and reaching the
right. Listen, this is where I disagree. I like OG. OG is not a star. OG is not a certified. This is my new term now. Thank you, Uncle Freezy. He's not a certified bucket getter. He's not somebody you're going through at the end of the game and saying, "This is crunch time. Here's the ball. Take us home." He's not that.
But he might be the guy at crunch time that you say don't let him score.
Correct.
You,
Correct.
you know
Yeah,
what I
no
mean?
doubt about it. I think
So
he is.
I
I
think
think he
there's
is.
you know what I mean?
He is.
I think
He
the
is that.
argument when people say that, I don't think they're saying he's a better player than Mitchell. And again, I'm not
This is
agreeing with him.
Almighty Finesse is saying he's a better fit. I think when it comes to stars, fit doesn't even matter.
Fit doesn't matter.
To
Certain
me,
certain
yeah.
stars. I agree with you to an extent
Like
because I
what would
think
be a
some.
star where a
Huh?
fit would matter?
Say that again.
You said certain stars. Give me an example of a star where fit would matter.
I mean, the argument is going to be, is he a star? But
Oh, that's different. That's
Zach
different. If you
LaVine.
don't think, I
don't think you can literally just slot him on any
nah, I
team.
don't know
And
if he's a star. Because with
okay,
the
well, that's what I
stars,
mean.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. Because to me, with the stars, you ain't worrying about fit because at some point you're going to need to fashion the team around him anyway.
Mhm.
And if those pieces aren't there, you got to go and get them. Like you can't be like, oh, we're not bringing in Giannis because he's not a fit for Randall. Or we're not going to bring in Embiid because we already got, like those stars. You bring them in, and then you just rework the team around them. So to me, when it comes to stars, fit is not an issue.
But if you're doing that means this is a fit thing too. You just say, all right, the other guys we have don't fit.
Right. Correct. But what I mean is I wouldn't not make the trade because they're not a fit with the current team. That's what I mean. That's a good point. All right, we out of here. I just want to give some love to the chat. Rogelio Cooper. I know I got that wrong, but I appreciate you. RC Creative, Cormega, Oruku Saki, BN _ Mighty Finesse, D Cooler 718, Mike Boy, B Willis, Soulfinger 12, West Coast, appreciate you. Sharon, JJ, Jeffrey Clafter, Ally Wise, Richard Sherfield, B Willis, Edwin P. I'm not going to get to everybody, but you know how I feel about y'all. There's no chat. There's no show without the chat. And I always
That's a
try to
fact.
put your comments up because I value what you're saying. You guys get me thinking as well. I appreciate the comments you guys put underneath the videos. Those who watch later, it gets me thinking. It helps polish my thoughts. I will say. Anyway, we are out of here. Appreciate you. Until next time.